Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I want to talk to you about why I think Rocket Lab is a spring basically loaded and ready to explode. There is just a lot of really good catalysts that are coming up for the stock. So I want to go over them. I also want to go over some recent news because some of it is misleading, some of it is it's going to be very interesting. Maybe we have a Haste launch, and that would mean that that launch is the 5th launch this quarter, which would be highest ever launches in a quarter. It would be that the revenues would beat expectations and what was guided for, and it would just be very, very good. But there is some controversy around this. So I want to go into all that in this video. The only thing I ask you to make sure that you're subscribed. And I really want to thank the channel members and the Patreons. There is 11 channel members and 4 Patreons, and I need to do a better job of putting their names up there. I really love you guys. You really make me motivated to do more videos. So thank you for your support. So let's begin the news. So today there came out the news that Rocket Lab was awarded, let me make my head a little bit smaller so we guys can see the articles. The Biden-Harris administration announces preliminary terms with Rocket Lab to expand production and production of compound semiconductors that power spacecraft and satellites. So this is a $23.9 million direct funding that Rocket Lab would get under the CHIPS and Science Act. Now, a lot of people were upset that this amazing news came out today, and it is amazing news. And the stock didn't move. It was actually down most of the day. I was quite surprised that it even closed up, but it didn't move anything on this news. So I did a little bit of sniffing around, and this news is not as good as it sounds, because if you read to the end of this very long and boring article, you will find this. After the PMT is signed, which is what they have signed, it's something like a preliminary memorandum of terms. So after that is signed, the department begins a comprehensive due diligence process on the proposed projects and continues negotiating and refining certain terms with the applicant. The terms contained in any final award documents may differ from the terms of the PMT being announced today. So this is not a final announcement. They are probably getting some money. Maybe they're getting more, maybe they're getting less, but this is nothing guaranteed. So this news is not as good as it first sounded. And I understand why the stock didn't madly rally because of this news. So let me show you another thing that was almost a catalyst for the stock. So the photographer of Rocket Lab, Austin, tweeted here, I think this was, when was it? 2 days ago, that he's going somewhere fire. And naturally, all the Rocket Lab community thought that he's going to to film the hot fire. And luckily, it's so funny. I actually thought about tweeting, like, imagine if this poor fellow just tweeted without thinking about it and he's actually going on vacation. And what do you know? The next tweet is Puerto Rico, fire, fire, fire. So that is not the fire that we were expecting, but at least he cleared it up. So this is not something that is a catalyst for the stock right now. Here's the next very interesting thing. So today, Rocket Lab tweeted an article that NASA Wallops is going to support a sounding rocket launch. A suborbital rocket is scheduled for launch between the week of June 10th to 17th from NASA's launch range at Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia. This launch is supporting the Missile Defense Agency, blah, blah, a lot of organizations. No real-time launch status updates will be available, of course, because this is a national security launch. And the launch will not be live streamed, nor will the launch status updates be provided during the countdown. The rocket launch may be visible from the Chesapeake Bay region. I'm probably butchering all these. So I tweeted that this is probably a Haste launch, and I got some pushback on that tweet. So people were saying that this is not Haste, it's not Haste, and they're referencing an article. Francisco Ramirez wrote me that it's probably not Haste, and I'm fully counting on Christopher Bell, because he lives nearby, to look up in the sky and tell us if that launch looks like an Electron or something else. But I did a little bit of digging, and what I found is that the launch is going to be from a place called White Sands Detachment, and this is a unit of the Army or NASA, or it's a government unit that is basically tasked with shooting up sounding rockets and testing different things. And in this article, which was right around when Haste was announced, it came out that the White Sands team taps Rocket Lab expertise to build ballistic targets, hypersonic test beds. So my guess, which could be wrong, because it seems to be like the Rocket Lab community is like, they think that White Sands is a different organization with their own sounding rockets. Francisco Ramirez wrote to me that it's this company's rocket. Based on what I see here, they're a naval unit that sends up sounding rockets. I just want to show you a little quote here. That's where our flight heritage and our partnership with NASA came from, said Abby Para, White Sands Detachment Site Director and W Department Manager. Both of our mission statements are similar. Fly the best possible vehicles that we can, as cheaply as we possibly can, and put as many experiments up there as possible. Today, White Sands Detachment Suborbital Vehicles Division spearheads the sounding rockets and their offshoots, targets that mimic real-world threats. So, here's another little bit of digging, because, you know, I guess many of you who are watching this are not rocket experts. So what is a sounding rocket? And is Haste a sounding rocket? So I had to ask ChatGPT for help. So explain what a sounding rocket is very simply. A sounding rocket is a type of rocket designed to carry scientific instruments to high altitudes for a short period of time, typically just a few minutes. It travels in a suborbital path, meaning it goes up into the atmosphere and comes back down without going into orbit around the Earth. Sounding rockets are used for experiments and measurements in space and the upper atmosphere. So then the next question, is Haste a sounding rocket? No, Haste High Agility Sounding Technology experiment is not a sounding rocket itself, but it is a program that utilizes sounding rockets for experiment. Haste is a program by the United States Air Force designed to develop and test advanced technologies and payloads in high-altitude environments. Sounding rockets are suborbital rockets used to carry scientific instruments and experiments to high altitudes, and Haste leverages these rockets to conduct its technology experiments and demonstrations. I'm just going to check something. Maybe a kid has woken up. Okay, we're all clear. Kid danger averted. So back to what I was saying. So Haste is a suborbital version of Electron. And technically, per the definition, it is a sounding rocket. White Sands is a government unit that sends up sounding rockets. Rocket Lab is contracted with the government to send up multiple Haste missions this year. Adam Spice said that there might be a new launch that is crammed into Q2, so maybe Q2 will have 5 launches. He didn't give any more details on it. I don't know. I think it's a Haste launch. Let me know in the comments what you think. And this is the 50th launch of Rocket Lab, and it's going to go in secret, even though they already announced that the Kinesis mission is their 50th launch. But again, this is a national security launch. And I don't think they can live stream it. I don't think they can go live with it. I don't think they can say that they're launching it. So that's why this is going to be the 50th mission. you see, I just want to show you in case I'm wrong. This is the tweet that they're saying that the 50th rocket is scheduled to take the skies next week, supporting the special edition. And this was a tweet from today. Granted, it was this morning and this article came later. So this is all the data. I'm just showing you, you make up your mind. Now, this was the current news of Rocket Lab. Now, I want to speak to you about the catalyst that I have written up here. So we have the imminent neutron hot fire test. I cannot wait to see this freaking test. That might be a huge catalyst for the stock. Maybe it is, maybe it is not. In case it is not a catalyst for the stock, the next step that comes after, because we know that after the hot fire test, they're going to start signing neutron contracts. Again, it might come in the next 1 month, it might come in the next 3 months, it might take 6 months, but it is coming. And that is going to be a huge catalyst for the stock. Then we have rate cuts coming. Tom Lee is saying that the small caps should rally 50% this year. Stanley Druckenmiller, super investor, has millions of dollars of call option on the Russell 2000. There is more and more investors that are getting more and more bullish on Russell stocks. And Rocket Lab is one of them. It's a small cap stock, and it is very affected by interest rate cuts. And tomorrow is tomorrow is a Fed meeting. I don't think that they're going to announce rate cuts, but they might talk about when we can expect the rate cuts, and it will be the rate cuts themselves will be a huge catalyst for the stock. Now, here's a new catalyst that can happen at any time. New major contract announcements, and that's with an S, so announcements. That's because if you listen to Adam Spice on the last investor conference that he had, he said that the goal is to get to 2 billion in backlog this year. Now, we are at 1 billion. There's 6 months left to get to 2 billion. It's very late. Help me out in the comments. Oh yeah, that's right. 1 billion in new contracts. Now, the SDA contract in itself is 500 million. So just adding such a contract, it wouldn't get us to 2 billion. So they either get a gigantic contract announcement or they get multiple small announcements. And that's the one that I'm thinking. I think that they have something in the pipeline that is similarly sized as the SDA. And I think that they're going to announce some neutron contracts and some other smaller contracts. And we're going to be looking really, really good on the backlog. Now, if they don't reach 2 billion by the end of the year, is that a catastrophe? Not at all. I'm a very early Palantir investor. My cost basis is $8 or between $8 and $9 on the stock. And I know from experience, waiting for the NHS contract and waiting for different contracts, that the government contracts sometimes take longer than you expect. So if we only get to 1.5 billion in backlog by the end of this year, is that a catastrophe? Am I selling Rocket Lab? Hell no. As long as they provide a good, reasonable expectation and update on what is in the pipeline, it should be very happy news for investors. And the next possible catalyst for the company is just the company going on existing and reporting the quarterly earnings. So the next quarterly earnings is probably 2 months from now. We're going to have record revenues. Maybe if this really is a Haste launch, we're going to blow the expectations out of water. They are probably going to guide again for an over $100 million contract just because of how much of the backlog they are expected to use up this year. So I believe that as time goes on and the cash reserves are not dwindling, the neutron development is kept under check, and the company is recording good earnings, we should see a very nice acceleration in the stock price. I mean, for F's sake, the stock has gone nowhere this year, and the earnings have grown 70% or close to 70%, and it's expected to continue growing at this rate. And that's that's gonna mean something. I mean, how many other companies do you know that are growing 70% earnings year over year? Not many. So this is why I think that this stock is spring loaded. If you join the membership or Patreon, you can get access to my valuation model. You know that my fair price for Rocket Lab is between $6 to $8. So as for me, again, this, never investment advice, but if I would have more money, I would definitely be buying at this point. And finally, maybe we see some movement in the stock. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.